Hey guys. Being that my name has already been said, I would like to open this presentation by just making a few things clear. I don't normally wear a jacket, nor do I go up this early. So a few things might be a bit off in this presentation, but it's not really my fault. I was thinking before I came here that this is probably the third most scariest presentation I have ever held. The first one being when I was like in the 6th grade and played saxophone, and we played Sound of Silence at the end of the school year. Very scary. Second one must have been when we launched Ticktail 6 months ago at the Nordic E-commerce Summit, which was also a kind of big, scary event in my life. Third time being this one. And I tried to figure out like what's the sort of like combining factor of all of these 3 presentations. And my realization was that a presentation becomes scary when other people tell you that you are going to hold a presentation before the presentation. So like for this one, for example, which is exciting about Creative Mornings because it's becoming such a big thing. But like I would go around and people that I like hardly know or have met, it's like, hey, how are you doing? You're going to speak on Friday. And you kind of left without a choice at that point. You're like, yes, I'm going to speak at Friday. But it should be good. It also adds to the scary part that you're all standing up, which makes this kind of a zoo experience. Okay, internet, serious business. I'm going to jump in by just sort of giving you all an intro to Ticktail. Some of you might know what it is. To some of you, you might just have shown up for the food, so I'm going to tell you about it as well. And after that, I'm going to sort of like move that into how I ended up doing Ticktail and what my key learnings have been. I was once told to hold a presentation at Hyper Island. It was supposed to be 4 hours long, which is just crazy, but they have this workshop format. It turned out to be like 40 minutes long. And now I was asked to hold a presentation that is 20 minutes long. And it's probably going to be like 4 hours long, but I'm going to try to speed through it to see if I can find the right thing. Not a good start. Okay. A few weeks ago, I spoke to my girlfriend, which is not a big thing. We speak almost every day. The thing was that we spoke over video on my iPad on an airplane. This, to me, is one of those few moments when we still like, it hits you in the face, like boom, we live in the future. You know, this is like beyond Jetsons. Like they had flying cars, but they could never figure out that like in a few years from now, we're going to speak on like devices this thin, 10,000 meters above the ground with anyone anywhere. That's just crazy, right? And kind of the strange thing is that at some point, oops, wrong date, in some sense, we kind of already live in the future. But the problem is that it's kind of, we live in the future and the past at the same time. Because you look at a few services on the internet and it's so developed. And on the other hand, we kind of look at e-commerce and it feels like it's stuck in the 90s. And this was this kind of like the strange thing that we discovered like a few years back, that like we've developed so far, everyone has a blog, everyone has their own homepage, everyone has like Facebook profile, but yet like for a just normal regular person who just cares about a product, just starting an online store was still kind of like difficult, complex, scary, expensive. And this is kind of what Ticktail aims to change. We aim to bring e-commerce, maybe not into the future because we're already there, but into present date in some sense. So we're Ticktail. We're kind of like Tumblr, the blog service for e-commerce. We're easy, pretty, and social. I'm going to take sort of the opportunity to show you all a video. Being that it's only 1 minute long, I feel that I have the time.
This is Ticktail. Ticktail is the easiest way to start an online store. And I might be biased, but it's not like this is kind of easy. It's more like, wow, Ticktail, it's really easy. A few weeks back, even my mother started using Ticktail.
Before I had the web shop, people asked me, why don't you have a web shop?
She's not great with computers, but she's great at other things. We wanted to create a way for people that have great products to become really great at e-commerce too.
I couldn't care less about e-commerce. I love vintage, that's it.
It was easy to use the dashboard, and it was easy to set up and upload the pictures.
It's easier to use than any other system out there.
It's been open 4 weeks, and I'm sending every second day something to someone.
It's like having someone holding your hand and actually guiding you through the whole e-commerce thing.
So start an online store today. It's simple, it's free, it's Ticktail.
Boom. So now that you all kind of know what Ticktail is, we've been live for 6 months. We're growing about 14% active stores per week, which we're pretty excited about. And we're also pretty proud to see that the wide variety of users that are on the platform. It's everything from like this retired dentist who pursued his lifelong dream to become a silver craftsman, and is now donating all of his sales to charity, to fashion bloggers, to bigger brands like Cheap Monday. They're all on the same platform, which is pretty cool. But what we're really excited is that we've gotten all of this sort of attention, and people are watching what we're doing, but we're really just in the starting phase. We've just launched what we think is just a rough beta, and it's kind of what we do now that will truly set us apart. What we're working on is what we think is the first admin or system that actually helps you. So we want to create a platform that works with you, not against you, so that when you come into Ticktail, it shouldn't just say that, okay, here's a platform, now we leave the rest up to you. You have to figure out everything else. We say, do you have a great product? Come on to Ticktail, and we'll solve the rest for you. And we're doing this with what we call the to-do feed. So basically what it does is that it gives our users or merchants daily advice, like marketing advice on what to do. And it's everything from the basic stuff, like, don't forget, you haven't tweeted in 4 days, don't forget to say something, to more complex things like, this is the content of your store, you should buy these AdWords. So you can all perform these tasks directly from the dashboard. So this is what's the intro about Ticktail. Now I'm going to try to spend the rest kind of 10 minutes to see how I sort of ended up being in this room with all of you, and how I sort of came to start Ticktail. And the reason I'm here is that I've actually failed with a few other things before kind of not succeeding, but not failing yet with Ticktail. And if you would paint up my career or sort of life on a timeline, or you sit at a dinner and you're kind of okay, what have you done? I always start my story somewhere about here. I start in the middle and kind of claim that to be the first part. And I'm going to give you uncover the whole long kind of story, what happened before. And I'm going to dub these the dark years in this timeline. Ticktail the story. So when people ask me what I've done before Ticktail, I kind of often say that I started a company called Super Strikers. But the fact is that before Super Strikers, there was a company called Svensk Formagentur. And hardly no one knows that this company ever existed, because it kind of just existed in our own little room. I had just finished high school, 18 years old. Didn't have my own apartment yet, but I desperately wanted to start a company. It was this thing in me where I just wanted to have a company, and it was more like having an office and taking care of papers than the actual idea of the company. It wouldn't matter what it was. Because this is the thing, right? If you're 18 years old and you don't have an apartment, how do you beat that? You get an office, right? Because in a conversation, if someone's okay, what are you doing? So yeah, we can hang out in my office. Then you kind of assume that that person has an apartment as well. So we created Svensk Formagentur, which was basically like, the idea was to create an agency for freelance designers to be able to like connect them with companies. And the whole approach was, okay, we have no background, we haven't studied in university, we haven't done anything that matters. Let's just find a really official name so that we feel pretty established and go with it. So we came up with the name Svensk Formagentur, which sounds pretty official, right? Which was later not so appreciated by Svensk Form, I might add. And we started emailing all of the design universities around Sweden, say like, okay, we had this new service, we should come. And they saw the name and we're like, okay, this must be serious. So we sat ourselves on an airplane, went up to like Umeå Universitet and held a lecture on like why people should sign up for Svensk Formagentur. And when we came there were like, all these professional designers and we were like this, like really young guys with 2 big suits, being like, hey, we're Svensk Formagentur. So basically, it didn't work. It didn't work at all. Like after a few months, or after like 6 months, we hadn't like made a single sale. And obviously, without a sale, like a company will eventually crash. However, the thing that was great about Svensk Formagentur is that during this time, some of our friends, it was me and a guy called Conrad who started this company, some of our friends felt like, okay, it's really cool, they have an office, I should hang out there. And one of those friends was actually a friend of Conrad, and it was a guy called Kai. He would come by every day after school to just sit and read magazines in our office, just kind of like feeling the whole office thing going on. And after 6 months, what actually happened is that Conrad said, like, okay, really appreciated this time with you. It was great working with you at Svensk Formagentur, but I have this new job thing going on, and I'm going to quit. So I was kind of like standing there in the office myself, and I'm like, okay, what's the next step? And I kind of liked what was going on with the whole office thing, although I didn't know where it was going. So what happened is that I just asked the guy that was sitting in the office already, like Kai, like, hey Kai, you like this magazine thing? Do you want to start a company with me? so basically, like, Conrad left Svensk Formagentur, the whole thing crashed, but like Kai was still in the office, so I asked him, like, let's start a new company. That company would become Super Strikers, which is often kind of where I start the story. So the idea around Super Strikers was to create an agency, a digital agency. However, being that we kind of like proceeded in the same way as with Svensk Formagentur, we never like sold anything because like we just hung around in the office and talked about things. Like it was more like a philosophical company in some ways. So we kind of failed after a while, like we went on in the same way, failed to attract enough customers. So what happened then with Super Strikers is that rather than just sort of like putting it all on hold, we just started building our own stuff instead, right? If we didn't find a customer we could build something for, let's build it ourselves. And what would eventually be kind of like constructed and what would be conceived in that office was, in fact, Keyflow. Because what happened is that like we sat there, we went to events, we kind of thought that was fun, and we saw all of these guest lists indoors, you know, and the guy in the door would stand with like a bunch of papers and we would go through them all to find the right person in order to let them in. And we basically felt like, hey, this could be made simpler. So we created what was then the world's first digital guest list system. The concept was that like you would have handheld devices in the door and you could text name and add names through text messaging and so on. And it actually became quite a hit. And like all of the clubs in Stockholm started using it. And after a while it would turn into its own company. So like because of the total failure of attracting clients in Super Strikers, we found ourselves with too much time on our hands, which actually gave us the opportunity to build Keyflow. So like the failure of Svensk Formagentur led to the construction of Super Strikers, which kind of led to this birth of Keyflow. And this is where you think like, okay, so now the good life is starting. Hell no. Keyflow also, like, it was a very like appreciated concept, but it really like didn't generate all of that cash. It was hard to sort of live on it, so to say. But Keyflow still played a very important role in what would like become our sort of career, because it actually turned around and gave Super Strikers our most important client, Spotify. So I'm going to tell you the story how Super Strikers came to work with Spotify. And this is embarrassing to me. So I'm going to share some of my personal notes with you. And it's on video. So 2007, Spotify wasn't big, it was pre-launch. And I was sitting in the office with Kai, obviously, and Conrad comes by. He's working on a new place now, having a good life. And he shows me this new service, it's Spotify. And it was one of those we live in the future explosion of the head thing. And I was like, I need to get that service. I need to get Spotify on my computer. And what he said is that, okay, I got it from this girl who's working there. She's called Sophia. You should get in contact with her. And I got her email, and I sent her this email. It's in Swedish. I'm going to read it out loud and try to translate. Hi, my former colleague Konrad Gerlach from JCAT just demonstrated your system to me. It's amazing. My name is Carl, and at present date, I'm developing a system for taking care of digital guest lists. However, my company has its roots in the event business. I would really like to become one of the test pilots for your system and would really appreciate an invite to your beta. Is there any chance in the world? I hope to be able to give back to you in some way. Kind regards from Carl. This is the reply I get. Hi, Carl. Thank you for your email. It's amazing to hear that you like Spotify. However, I'm having a hard time to send you an invite at current date, as we only have a limited amount and it's been an incredible demand for them, which is super fun, but it's also boring to have to say no. I realize that this sounds as a lame excuse, but this is, as I said, the fact that we only have a limited amount of invites to give out due to licensing and technical limitations. And it feels really bad to have to say no to interested people like you, but I promise to send you one as soon as we extend the amount of invites, so hang in there. Have a nice summer for the while being. The same choice at this point would have been to just put it at rest and wait for the release. However, continuing in our spirit of Super Strikers, I would reply this. Hi, Sophia. Thank you for your answer. However, I'm not sure how to live without it. It feels kind of like a heroin addiction right now. I got a little and I need more. I understand that there's a lot of limitations in the amount of invites you're allowed to give out. However, I don't think it would be a wasted investment. I work a lot with clients that would be interested to you. And even though our webpage looks a bit, rough, there's a lot of things behind it. I'm going to stop now, keep some dignity, but however, keep me in mind, have a good time and good luck with everything. Oh, and please, swing by Kina Teatern, which was a nightclub at the point, which used the Gisli system, and have a look at sort of the shell of our nice system that we're beta testing right now. It's the small handheld guest list that guards are holding. I'll make sure you're on the list plus free for the rest of the summer. Kind regards from Carl. Hi, Carl. You seem like a very talented businessman who at an early point can see the needs of your clients. And that knows what you want. I like that. As your friend has already received one, and it feels super sad to have to say no to someone who seems so interested and engaged as you, and who can also guess that my favorite place is China, and it doesn't at all, I don't mind at all if you put me on the list plus free. It will be golden. I will send a beta invite to you and wish you best of luck with your business. I think it's going to go really well. Kind regards from Sophia. So how Keyflow kind of ended up allowing me to give an invite to Sophia also led to a meeting with her, which also led to Super Strikers getting to produce the first video for Spotify, then their sort of homepage, brand identity, videos, communication. We became their agency and worked very closely with them for many years to create all of this, what you think about when you see Spotify. And I'm not sure how much, okay, I'm going to I was going to show you a video that we did, but it's kind of like I have to speed through. Super Strikers eventually, very much because of Spotify and other clients that we managed to attract due to all of this, we got acquired by a much bigger agency called IdentityWorks, where we kind of could continue working for real, in some sense. So to sort of summarize this far, like Svensk Formatur led to Kai, Super Strikers led to Keyflow, Keyflow led to Spotify, Spotify kind of led to IdentityWorks. At IdentityWorks, we desperately tried to recruit a guy called Burke. We couldn't. He didn't want to. He was working at Stardoll at the time and felt super happy about that. However, in retrospect, I'm kind of happy that he said no. Because had he agreed, we would not have been able to ask him a few months later to quit his job, to not work with us, but to actually found a company with us. It was together with Burke we became Ticktail, a guy that we first just only tried to recruit, but just kind of like really got along well with, although he said no to our offer. And this time with Ticktail, things were going to be done right. And as I see that, I'm sort of like running out of time. However, things would take like, and with Ticktail, I must say things are going in a pretty good direction right now. But like, when we started Ticktail, we were like, if we're going to do this right, we're going to start it in Silicon Valley, because that's where you start an internet company today. So we started by buying ourselves plane tickets, going over to Silicon Valley, and before then we wanted to have like a prototype of the system, this beta page where you can sign up for an early invite, a jobs page, and so on. And we kind of got along to do that. The only thing we didn't have time to do was to actually put up a jobs page. So what Burke did instead was that on the landing page of Ticktail, he put in a snippet of code which said, "Hello, fellow developer. We're looking for people like you, talented, eager, and inspiring. Are you interested in writing some Python code together with us? Well, then tell us all about it at jobs.ticktail.com. We're looking forward to working with you." So, I mean, this is the case. It's 18 months back. Ticktail has just started. I mean, at this point, no one knows about Ticktail. Like, hardly my mother knew that I had quit my job to start Ticktail. And what we do is that we don't put up a job space, we rather write a snippet of code in the sort of landing page of Ticktail. It's like sending a message into space. But wouldn't you know, like we go to San Francisco, come back a few weeks later, I'm standing in the subway, and I get a call from Burke, and he's like, "Somebody just emailed us." And that alone was amazing. But the fact that the person who found this message was a guy called Siavash makes it amazing, even more amazing. And it was at that point we really became Ticktail for real. Skipping this slide. I put in an intermediate quote just because it's a nice quote. It's from Dan Crowley, the founder of Foursquare. "The product is easy, the hard part is building the machine that builds the product." The machine. To sort of like round off this presentation, what I'm trying to say here is really like the most important thing for me, and what has been enabled me to be able to go to a work which I'm really proud of and I enjoy working with every day, is simply that I tried so many things. And this is like the thing I want you all to take with you. Like, try things all the time and just go out and do something, because one, you can't really know what you want to do until you have tried a lot of different things. And two, the worst thing that could happen would probably just lead you on to the next kind of lesson and the next important stepping stone for you. And I don't know what's going to happen with Ticktail, but I'm certain that whatever happens with Ticktail, it will have brought me forward in some way. And that's it. I'm going to stop there.